Yo, what's up guys, it's Bertrude. Today we're using a build that is truly the stuff of nightmares. She's going to come after you in your dreams. She's going to make you bleed, and whatever you do not say her name. So this is a level 75 build. We're going with 44 vigour, minimum strength and dexterity for our weapons, and then we've got 35 arcane. In our flask we're using the Opaline hard tier for some extra damage negation, and then we're using the Faith Not crystal tier to boost our faith, which allows us to use all of the spells and incantations we need to on the build. We've got three main weapons on the build, the first one being the Celebrant Skull, the second one being the Grave Scythe, and then finally we've got one single Scavenger Curve Sword. I also like to make use of the second weapon slot on my builds when I can, so on this occasion we're using the Reduvia Dagger. Always good to have a quick weapon to swap to when your opponents are at low health. In our left hand we'll be switching between two different catalysts, the first one being the Staff of the Guilty, then as well as that we're using the bog standard good old Finger Seal. The reason we're using the staff and the seal on the build is because we're using the thorn sorceries as well as all of the blood incantations, so we need to soft swap between our staff and our seal depending on which spell we want to use for the situation. And that's the build guys. It's a really good mixture between some awesome weapons and some really cool spells and incantations. This build really is the ultimate blood mage. Anyway guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, but it's time for you lot to sit back and enjoy the video. So guys, the first thing I'd like to touch on about this build is just a little bit on the level that we're currently sitting at. At the moment we're a level 75 build, but anyone who's been following my channel and seen the previous videos I've released about Bloody Murray will remember that we was a 65 build previous to this. At level 65 we did okay, we were still a strong build, we had some good invasions, some great fights, but we always struggled when it came to our poise and our damage negation. You know that the armour we're wearing naturally isn't very high in those areas, so whenever we came up against a tough gank or anyone who was wearing beefy armour, that's when we'd always struggle. So when it came to getting some footage for this video and I started invading, I knew that I wanted to make a change. I took the plunge and decided to add 10 levels onto the build, which allowed me to invest slightly more into our endurance, and because of that we're wearing some tankier legs and some tankier gloves, which has done wonders. We've got some higher damage negation and slightly higher poise, and this really is noticeable during the fights. Another change that I made to the build was our investment into Arcane. At level 65 this build was actually a strength build and I didn't have any investment in Arcane whatsoever, but what I did use was a Blood Flame Blade incantation. I'd rely on that to help spot the bleed in our enemies, plus our weapons do have some natural bleed build up as well, but as I said there was no investment in Arcane and I relied on the Blood Flame Blade. But I thought about it and I thought maybe this was holding me back a little bit. This is Bloody Murray, we're an out and out bleed build, so let's just go with the Arcane. Let's get a high investment in Arcane and let's get some really powerful blood pox going on our enemies, and I think that it's made a big improvement to the build. Blood Flame Blade is very good, there's no doubt about it, but does it compete with a high investment into Arcane? I'm not so sure. I think my results speak for themselves in this video. You can see how effective some of our weapon usage is. So yeah, I think the high investment into Arcane was a good move. Look at this absolute clown, guys, honestly. I've said it many times before, but I absolutely despise light rolling in this game. Oh, he's so pleased with himself. He just can't stop rolling. I cannot stand it. It drives me up the wall. This was an invasion I really did knuckle down for. I really, really wanted to beat this guy. This was my chance now in this invasion, guys. I got the horse down low. I just have to follow him up with the fan daggers and hopefully one of them connects. I take a big hit from the summon there, but the next fan dagger throw and we get the kill on the host. I was super pleased, and you're damn right the summon gets a couple of tea bags. Oh man, sometimes you invade into an invasion, obviously, and you just have to win it. I would have been very, very disappointed to lose that invasion just because I needed to beat the guy light rolling. It was as simple as that. So yeah, that was a good one. This was a funny little moment. I invaded this guy who I actually know from the Xbox Discord. He's one of my friends online and we was having a great fight. But at this moment now, I thought he'd quit. A tear came to my eye. I thought, no, you're better than this. But a moment later, he's back. I actually messaged him after the fight and I said, what was all that about? I thought you'd quit on me. And his actual batteries died in his controller, so we had to sprint off and get a wire to connect his controller directly into his Xbox. And then yeah, we was able to finish our fight. And yeah, it was all good in the end. GG's, man. Fun fight. So as you can see, guys, this is the first invasion of the video where we're using the Scavenger's Curse Sword. I think out of all three of the main weapons on the build, this is my least used one, but it still fits really well, it suits the build. I think all three of the weapons really do suit the character of the build perfectly. You know, I think the Grave Scythe is really fitting, but I think overall my absolute favourite one on this build is the Celebrant Skull. I think it's just such a dark looking weapon, and yeah, it just fits the build really, really well. Unlucky there not to get the horse to fall down off the ladder, but amongst all the commotion there trying to chase these two down, I didn't realise that a blue had spawned in, so now I better switch my attention and deal with this guy. Now this is quite an unlucky moment with this summon. I chase him up the ladder now, I've got rid of the blue, and I go to hit him with the Rise of Sin. But I actually reached the cut-off of the 3 minutes that I'm able to use that spell, just after I started using it. There's no doubt in my mind that that would have probably killed him, but yeah, that was so unlucky. I mentioned at the start of the video we need to use our flask to get the 10 extra faith, which allows us to use all of the spells on the build, and it's for the Thorn Sorceries that we need that 10 extra faith for. So I went up there, hit him with the first blast, got him stunned, did the damage, and then I hit the cut-off point of the 3 minutes that I can use the spell. Absolutely gutted, that would have been a surefire, no-nonsense kill. But that's just how it goes sometimes. So let's take a little moment to talk about the spells and the incantations that we're using on the build. Obviously we're using a mixture of all of the blood spells and incantations that are available to us, and it just makes for an absolutely awesome character and awesome playstyle. I really do like these spells and incantations. Obviously we've got the Swarm of Flies, the Blood Boon, and the Blood Flame Talons. Now, I think the Swarm of Flies can be really good, used as a defensive tool to distract our enemies, which allows us maybe to close a bit of space, or buy a bit of space for ourselves to heal up. I really like the Blood Flame Talons. I think they can be really satisfying to use when you stun someone in the explosion and then you can follow that up with an attack of your own. Yeah, just really satisfying spells, but I think the Thorn Sorceries in particular really do steal the show on this build. Rise of Sin and the Rise of Punishment, two of my favourite spells in the game. I think they're so cool looking. Again, thematically, they're just perfect for the build. And it's the Rise of Punishment, the long range one, which is surprisingly effective. It's got really long range, and it can often catch our opponents off guard, doing some good damage, adding to the bleed build up, and just looking super stylish in the process. Something that I constantly talk about on the channel, when I'm showing you my builds, when I'm talking through invasions, I mention it constantly. I love to make character builds. I like to make thematic builds that have a certain look, a certain kit, you know, a certain name, that all flows together really well. I almost make my builds and I picture them as an NPC invader that could invade you during your playthrough. You know, I think it was Saint Riot where I initially got this idea. I've heard him say a few times himself before that when he's making builds, he likes to imagine that they could invade you in a playthrough. So, you know, that doesn't lend itself to the meta builds, it doesn't lend itself to just using one or two really strong weapons, it lends itself to variety. And that's what I absolutely thrive on doing within this game. And I think that Bloody Mary is up there as one of the best character builds that I've made. I almost think of her as a mascot of the channel. I've got Bloody Mary, and then I've got the War Goblin, and I'd probably say the Blood Bruiser as well. Three builds that are always well received, and three builds that hold a real special place in my heart. So yeah, Bloody Mary, she's one of my favourites. She's a good old girl, She's a really strong build, really fun playstyle, and I really hope that you guys enjoy watching her as much as I enjoy playing her. Massive shout out to this blue, by the way. He got summoned in and he just stood there with his torch looking proper cool, just enjoying the show. This fight between me and the host went on for a long while. It was a proper epic battle. We're talking 8 or 9 minutes here. You know, the cut-off point to use a Thorn Sorcery is as well and truly gone. I've not got that much blue juice left. You know, it's pretty much down to just a scrap with our weapons between me and this host. And as you can see, guys, another blue spawning at this point, and they're both just chilling, enjoying the fight. Yeah, really cool stuff. Big respect, big shout out to those blues. I never thought I'd say that, but this was an epic fight and it was good to have an audience. This was an epic 3-on-1 fight in the capital, guys, for this invasion, but unfortunately this is the last one of the video. I hope you've had a good time watching. As I said before, I absolutely adore this build. Bloody Mary really does hold a special place in my heart. She's one of my favourite character creations, and I always love rotating back round to her to make a video. Can I please ask, guys, if you like the content, you like the videos, consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. We're making a real big push towards 1,000 subs now, which has been my big target for a while. And when we get there, it's going to be a day to celebrate. I've already got a beer planned with the wife. I've said when I get to 1,000 subs, me and you are having a drink. Is that sad? No, that's not sad, is it? I don't think so. No, it's definitely not. Be as it is. Anyway, guys, look after yourselves, look after each other, enjoy the rest of your day, take it easy as always, and I'll see you next time.